Joining us now is the Director of Investigations and Research for Judicial Watch, Chris Farrell. Chris, welcome back to Victory News.
Great to be with you. Thank you very much.
All right, I know you've got a reaction to this. I want to get your reaction to the Department of Justice alleged spying on Congress and Empower Oversight's court action, what this all means for the separation of powers between our three branches of government.
Yeah, it's very dangerous what's going on. And we have the Justice Department, per usual, sadly, acting in a really rogue manner and just plunging into what should be a power-separated, power-protected relationship between the executive branch and the judiciary. You know, Jason Foster worked for Grassley on the Judiciary Committee. I know him and I know Senator Grassley. And I'm quite certain that the FBI and Department of Justice were very concerned about what that committee was doing and what they were looking at. So what better way to undermine any sort of oversight than to go ahead and seize the emails and communications of the people that are looking at you? This is a kind of abuse of power. This is corrosive. It destroys the Constitution. It's very dangerous, and I'm glad that they're suing, because you can't even rely on the Inspector General. Very often, Inspectors General is really where the truth goes to die. It's part of the D.C. cover-up operation.
Wow. It's something that we need to keep our eye on. I'm glad somebody's doing it. Let's discuss Alvin Bragg's ongoing show trial against Donald Trump. CNN panelist, network political director David Challen summed up things so far this way.
I've seen precious little evidence presented yet that Trump wasn't floating above. I mean, I've seen very little evidence of Trump's direct involvement in getting this accomplished. So, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Chris, if things continue on this track in the courtroom, how strong is the potential for a jury to find reasonable doubt over Donald Trump's involvement in what appears to be Alvin Bragg's lawfare scheme and Michael Cohen's conduct?
Well, the case is worthless. It's really a kangaroo court operation. This is Alvin Bragg is contrived and cobbled together bits and pieces of garbage and tries to, use alchemy to turn it into something that it isn't. The problem is the president is sitting in front of a New York jury, and that's the wild card. So Alvin Bragg could be throwing up a lot of garbage, but sadly, with a New York jury, it might stick.
All right. Now, Judicial Watch is reporting the Biden administration using a federal agency to go after a family that's donated significantly to Republicans. Tell us the story, Chris.
Yeah, so the bottom line is the Biden EEOC, the Biden administration, believes that persons of color are criminals. That's the conclusion you draw. And the reason you draw that conclusion is Sheetz, which is a family-owned business in Pennsylvania. They have many gas stations all over the country, but nonetheless, the Sheetz family are Republican donors. Biden had a horrible appearance at a Sheetz recently in Pennsylvania. And so suddenly, out of the blue, the EEOC decides that they're going to look into Sheetz hiring practices. And Sheetz, like many, many other businesses, does a criminal background check. They don't want to have felons working for them, which is a pretty reasonable thing. And so because they do a criminal background check, the EEOC now concludes, oh, you're trying to target persons of color. I guess that's their position. If you're a person of color and you run a criminal background check, that means the same thing to the Biden administration.
Wow.
And therefore, they've turned it on its head and gone after the Sheetz family.
Wow. Okay. Let's do something a little humorous here. This week, Drew Barrymore welcomed Kamala Harris to her show and offered her a new title, Beyond Border Czar. Here it is.
I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now. Yeah. But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
Chris, will Kamala help bring peace and love to the nation with a big hug?
This is like an episode from Who's Who in Mental Health. I mean, that's a very disturbing clip for a variety of reasons.
It is. Chris Farrell, thanks so much. Back to you in just a moment. Let's talk with Chris Farrell from Judicial Watch again. Texas is joining with other states across the country to celebrate May as Jewish American Heritage Month. How important is it to recognize the contributions of Jewish Americans to our history, culture, and society at this time?
I think it's particularly critical now, given the insanity that we're seeing on college campuses. People can never forget what happened on October 7th. And likewise, just a few weeks ago, Iran rained down missiles and rockets and drones on Israel. And we need to have an appreciation and a sensitivity of what's going on. We need to break this insane oppressor dialectic that is being promoted in all of our educational systems, and instead focus on achievement, accomplishment, meritocracy, and excellence. And if we do that, and we honor and respect all people based on their achievements and their merit, we'll have a much healthier, much more productive society. Governor Abbott is right on the nose with this pro-Jewish, pro-Israel proclamation to offset the insanity we see on campuses.
Now, you hosted Professor John A. Gentry, a U.S. intelligence expert, on your latest podcast. What did you discuss?
We did discuss the politicization of the CIA and really the soft coup, the ongoing, never-ending attacks on candidate Trump, transition President Trump, and then the Trump administration and all the people around him, and the activities of intelligence officers like John Brennan and others to try to undermine our country.
I'm so glad you did that. There's a bigger story there. Now, be sure to stay up to date on Judicial Watch and their work to promote transparency, accountability, and integrity in government. Just visit judicialwatch.org or on X @JudicialWatch. Chris, thank you so much for being with us. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks to everybody.